The rain lashed against the windows, creating a relentless, staccato rhythm that reverberated through the old, creaking house. It was a stormy night, the kind that sent shivers down your spine and made every shadow seem a little darker, every creak of the floorboards a little louder. John sat in his study, the dim light of a solitary desk lamp casting long, dancing shadows on the walls. He was engrossed in a book, one that had taken his fancy during a recent visit to the quaint, dusty bookstore on the corner of Elm Street. The book was filled with stories of the supernatural, ghostly apparitions, cursed objects, and tales of the unexplained. John had always been drawn to such stories, finding a strange comfort in the fear they inspired. As he turned the pages, his eyes fell upon a story that sent a shiver down his spine. It was the tale of a malevolent mirror, an antique that had brought misery and despair to all who had possessed it. The mirror was said to be cursed, a portal to a dark realm where vengeful spirits lurked. John scoffed at the notion of curses and malevolent mirrors, dismissing it as mere superstition. But as he continued reading, a sense of unease settled over him. The story recounted how the mirror had changed hands over the years, leaving a trail of tragedy in its wake. Its first owner, a wealthy merchant, had gone bankrupt and taken his own life, leaving behind a cryptic note that spoke of whispers in the night and shadowy figures in the mirror's depths. The mirror had then passed to a young couple who had been torn apart by jealousy and suspicion, their love twisted into something dark and bitter. The cycle of misery continued with each new owner, as if the mirror fed on the suffering it caused. John couldn't help but be intrigued by the story, his curiosity piqued. He wondered if such a mirror could truly exist, if it could possess the power to bring about such misfortune. The rational part of him scoffed at the idea, but a nagging doubt remained in the back of his mind. The following morning, John found himself unable to shake off the eerie tale of the malevolent mirror. He decided to do some research, to see if there was any truth to the story or if it was simply a work of fiction. He spent hours scouring the internet, reading about cursed objects and haunted mirrors. To his surprise, he discovered that there were countless accounts of people who claimed to have experienced supernatural phenomena associated with mirrors. There were stories of mirrors that reflected a different reality, where the world was twisted and distorted. Others spoke of mirrors that showed glimpses of the past or the future, leaving those who gazed into them with a sense of unease. But the most unsettling were the stories of mirrors that seemed to be inhabited by malevolent entities, mirrors that whispered in the dead of night and showed visions of terror. Despite his initial skepticism, John couldn't help but be drawn further into the world of cursed mirrors. He read about rituals to cleanse and protect mirrors from dark forces, about the importance of covering mirrors at night to prevent them from becoming portals to the unknown. The more he read, the more he felt a growing sense of unease. That evening, as the rain continued to pour, John found himself unable to tear his gaze away from the antique mirror that hung in the hallway just outside his study. It had been a family heirloom, passed down through the generations, and he had never given it much thought before. But now, as he looked at its ornate frame and the dark, reflective surface, he couldn't help but wonder if it held secrets of its own. With a sense of trepidation, John approached the mirror and studied his reflection. It was a perfectly ordinary mirror, showing nothing out of the ordinary. He chuckled at his own paranoia and turned away, ready to put the unsettling thoughts out of his mind. But as he walked back to his study, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. He glanced back at the mirror and froze. His reflection was still there, but something was wrong. It was not a perfect reflection of himself, it was distorted, twisted into a malevolent grin that sent a chill down his spine. John stumbled back in horror, his heart racing. He had seen something in the mirror, something that shouldn't have been there. He tried to rationalize it, blaming it on a trick of the light or his own imagination. But deep down, he knew that something was terribly wrong with the mirror. That night, John couldn't sleep. He kept replaying the image of his distorted reflection in his mind, unable to shake off the feeling of unease. He decided to do some more research, to find out if there was a way to rid the mirror of whatever malevolent presence had taken hold of it. His search led him to a dusty old book hidden away in the attic, a book that contained the secrets of reversing the ritual. It would not be easy, the book warned, and the risks were great. But John had no other choice. He gathered the necessary materials and performed the ritual, chanting the incantations and following the instructions with a sense of desperation. As he completed the final step, he felt a surge of dark energy coursing through him, a malevolent force that fought back with all its might. But John was determined. With every ounce of his strength, he pushed the darkness back into the mirror, sealing it within its reflective depths once more. As he did, he saw the malevolent grin on his own reflection slowly fade away, replaced by a sense of relief. The room fell silent, the malevolent presence gone, and John knew that he had succeeded. But he also knew that he could never let the mirror out of his sight again, that he could never allow the darkness to be unleashed once more. And so, he did the only thing he could do. He covered the mirror with a heavy cloth and placed it in a locked room, where it would remain for all eternity, a malevolent force imprisoned within its glassy depths. But as John walked away, he couldn't help but wonder if the malevolent presence had truly been defeated or if it was merely biding its time, waiting for the moment when it could be set free once more. The town of Blackwood was like any other small, peaceful community nestled in the heart of rural America. Its streets were lined with charming houses, and its people went about their lives with the kind of quiet contentment that comes from living in a place untouched by the hustle and bustle of the modern world. But there was one house in Blackwood that was different, a house that had earned a reputation as the most haunted in the town, the infamous Blackwood House. The house had stood on the outskirts of Blackwood for as long as anyone could remember, its imposing facade shrouded in a perpetual cloak of darkness. Its windows were boarded up, its garden overgrown with twisted, thorn-covered vines, and a palpable sense of dread seemed to hang in the air around it. The legend of Blackwood House had been passed down through generations, a tale of unspeakable horrors that had befallen its occupants over the years. It was said that the house was cursed, that it was a magnet for malevolent spirits, drawn to it like moths to a flame. The story began in the 19th century when the house was first built by a wealthy merchant named Samuel Blackwood. He had spared no expense in its construction, and the mansion had quickly become a symbol of his wealth and success. But behind the grandeur of the house lay a darkness that would come to define its legacy. It was said that Samuel Blackwood had been involved in dark dealings, dabbling in the occult and making pacts with other worldly entities. As his wealth grew, so did his obsession with the supernatural, and he began to conduct bizarre and horrifying experiments within the walls of his mansion. One fateful night, a terrible fire consumed Blackwood House, reducing it to ashes and claiming the lives of Samuel Blackwood and his family. It was a tragedy that shook the town to its core, and the house was left to stand as a grim reminder of the horrors that had transpired within its walls. Over the years, Blackwood House became a place of fascination for thrill-seekers and paranormal enthusiasts. Countless stories of strange occurrences and ghostly sightings were recounted by those who dared to venture near its crumbling facade. Some claimed to have heard disembodied voices whispering in the night, while others reported seeing shadowy figures moving in the windows. But it was not until the 20th century that the true horror of Blackwood House was revealed to the world. In 1965, a group of paranormal investigators known as the Blackwood Society decided to conduct a thorough investigation of the house, hoping to uncover the truth behind the legends. The team consisted of 4 members: Dr. Emily Harris, a renowned parapsychologist; John Miller, a seasoned investigator with a background in law enforcement; Sarah Davis, a gifted medium with a connection to the spirit world; and Michael Carter, a tech specialist responsible for recording and analyzing data. They arrived in Blackwood with a sense of excitement and trepidation, fully aware of the risks they were undertaking. The town's residents watched with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension as the team set up their equipment and prepared to enter the house. As they crossed the threshold into Blackwood House, a heavy silence descended upon them, broken only by the sound of their own footsteps. The air inside the mansion was cold and musty, and the walls seemed to close in around them. Their investigation began with a thorough examination of the house's history and the events that had led to its reputation as a haunted dwelling. Dr. Harris pored over old records and diaries, while John Miller interviewed the few surviving descendants of Samuel Blackwood's family, hoping to glean any information that might shed light on the mysteries of the house. Sarah Davis, the medium, conducted a séance in an attempt to make contact with any lingering spirits. Her eyes rolled back, and her voice took on an otherworldly quality as she spoke to the unseen entities that surrounded them. The room grew colder, and a sense of unease settled over the investigators as Sarah relayed messages from the spirits. "They are trapped here," she whispered, her eyes still closed. "They are bound to this place by a dark force, unable to move on." Michael Carter, the tech specialist, set up an array of cameras and recording devices throughout the house, hoping to capture any evidence of paranormal activity. It wasn't long before their equipment began to pick up strange phenomena: disembodied voices, shadowy figures, and unexplained temperature drops. As the days turned into weeks, the Blackwood Society delved deeper into the mysteries of the house, determined to uncover the truth. But with each passing day, the malevolent presence within the mansion seemed to grow stronger, as if it resented the intrusion of the investigators. One night, as he stood before the mirror, he saw Sarah's face staring back at him, her eyes filled with longing and despair. She begged him to save her, to find a way to break the curse of the mirror. With a sense of grim determination, John Miller set out on a final, desperate mission. He consulted forbidden texts and delved into the darkest corners of the occult, searching for a way to free Sarah from her prison. His quest led him to a ritual that would require the sacrifice of his own soul to break the curse of the mirror. Without hesitation, he performed the ritual, sealing his fate in exchange for Sarah's freedom. As the ritual reached its climax, the mirror shattered into 1,000 pieces, and a blinding burst of light filled the room. When the light faded, Sarah stood before him, her eyes filled with tears of gratitude. But as John Miller looked at the shattered remains of the mirror, he realized the true horror of what he had done. The malevolent presence that had plagued Blackwood House had been released, free to roam the world once more. In the years that followed, Blackwood House was abandoned, its dark history a warning to all who passed by. The town of Blackwood returned to its peaceful existence, but the legend of the cursed house lived on. And somewhere out there, the malevolent presence continued to haunt the living, a vengeful spirit born of darkness and despair. The small town of Havenbrook was known for its picturesque landscapes and the tranquility that enveloped it like a protective shroud. Nestled in the heart of the countryside, it seemed an idyllic place to live. But beneath the surface of this quaint community lay a dark secret, one that would unravel the lives of its unsuspecting residents. It all began with the disappearance of Amelia Turner, a young woman known for her beauty and charm. Amelia had vanished without a trace, leaving behind a distraught family and a town filled with unanswered questions. The townsfolk speculated about what could have happened to her. Some whispered about a forbidden love affair, while others believed she had simply run away to escape the suffocating monotony of life in Havenbrook. But one man knew the truth. for he had been there on that fateful night when Amelia had disappeared. His name was Benjamin Blackwood, a local historian and collector of arcane knowledge. Benjamin had always been drawn to the mysteries of the unknown, and his obsession with the supernatural had led him to uncover the hidden horrors that lurked beneath the surface of Havenbrook. As the sole witness to Amelia's disappearance, Benjamin was burdened with a terrible secret. He had been conducting research in the town's archives, searching for clues about the town's dark past when he stumbled upon a cryptic journal written by a long-forgotten resident of Havenbrook. The journal spoke of a labyrinthine network of underground tunnels that lay beneath the town, a labyrinth that was said to be a gateway to another world, a world inhabited by malevolent beings that hungered for the souls of the living. Intrigued and filled with a sense of dread, Benjamin had embarked on a mission to explore the tunnels and uncover the truth. Armed with a lantern and a sense of trepidation, he descended into the darkness below Havenbrook. The tunnels were a nightmarish maze, their walls covered in strange, indecipherable symbols. The air was thick with the stench of decay, and a sense of unease settled over Benjamin as he ventured deeper into the labyrinth. It wasn't long before he encountered the first of the malevolent beings that inhabited the tunnels. They were grotesque, shadowy figures that seemed to flicker in and out of existence. Their eyes glowed with an otherworldly light, and their voices were a cacophony of anguished screams. The beings whispered terrible secrets to Benjamin, secrets that filled him with terror and despair. They spoke of a curse that had befallen Havenbrook, a curse that had allowed these malevolent entities to enter the world of the living and claim the souls of its residents. As Benjamin continued to explore the tunnels, he came upon a chamber that held the key to the curse, a massive, ornate mirror that seemed to pulse with dark energy. It was a gateway to the other world, a portal through which the malevolent beings could pass. Realization struck Benjamin like a thunderbolt. He knew that the mirror had to be destroyed, that it was the only way to break the curse and save Havenbrook from its impending doom. But as he raised his lantern to shatter the mirror, a bone-chilling voice echoed through the chamber. It was the voice of Amelia Turner, her eyes filled with a malevolent light as she stepped out of the mirror and into the world of the living. Amelia had become one with the malevolent beings, her soul twisted and corrupted by their dark influence. She spoke of the power she had gained in the other world, the power to control the minds and souls of the townsfolk. With a wave of her hand, she summoned the other malevolent beings, and they descended upon Benjamin with a vengeance. He fought back with all his strength, but it was clear that he was no match for the otherworldly forces that surrounded him. As the malevolent beings closed in, Benjamin knew that he had failed in his mission. The mirror remained intact, and the curse of Havenbrook would continue to claim the souls of its residents. But Benjamin refused to give in to despair. With his dying breath, he whispered an incantation, a desperate plea for help that would echo through the ages. Amelia and the malevolent beings retreated into the mirror, their victory incomplete. Benjamin's sacrifice had bought the town of Havenbrook a reprieve, but the curse still lingered, waiting for the day when it would be unleashed once more. In the years that followed, Havenbrook became a ghost town, its streets deserted and its buildings crumbling into disrepair. The townsfolk had vanished without a trace, their souls claimed by the curse that still hung over the town. And Benjamin Blackwood's journal, filled with the terrible secrets of Havenbrook, remained hidden, waiting for a brave soul to uncover its mysteries and face the horrors that lay beneath the town. Harrowbrook Manor stood as a brooding sentinel on the outskirts of the small, secluded town of Willowville. Its history was shrouded in darkness, its grand halls echoing with the whispers of secrets long buried. For generations, the Harrowbrook family had resided within its shadowy confines, their names synonymous with wealth, power, and a deep, unsettling darkness. They were rumored to have made a pact with the unknown, a pact that had bound them to the manor and the malevolent entity that dwelled within. As the sun dipped below the horizon one fateful evening, casting long shadows across the manor's sprawling grounds, a chilling sense of foreboding settled over the town of Willowville. It was the night of the annual Harvest Festival, a time of celebration and revelry, but this year, a sense of unease gripped the townsfolk. As the festival's bonfires blazed and the townspeople danced and feasted, a sinister undercurrent of fear ran through the crowd. It was said that during the Harvest Festival, something ancient and malevolent stirred within the woods that bordered the manor. Eliza Sinclair, a young woman with a thirst for adventure and a fascination with the supernatural, had long been drawn to the mysteries of Harrowbrook Manor. She had heard the whispers and the tales passed down through generations, and her curiosity could no longer be contained. Under the cloak of darkness, Eliza ventured into the woods, guided only by the faint glow of firelight in the distance. The forest was dense and foreboding, its ancient trees casting long, skeletal shadows. As she ventured deeper into the woods, Eliza felt a palpable shift in the atmosphere. The air grew icy, and a sense of being watched settled over her like a suffocating shroud. Whispers seemed to emanate from the very trees themselves, as if they were trying to dissuade her from her path. But Eliza pressed on, her heart pounding with each step. She had to know the truth, to uncover the secrets of Harrowbrook Manor and the malevolent entity that haunted it. Eventually, she reached a clearing bathed in an otherworldly light. In the center of the clearing stood a massive, gnarled tree, its branches twisted and grotesque. It was there that she saw it, the symbol etched into the tree's bark, a symbol she recognized from the town's folklore. The symbol was said to be a mark of a curse, a mark that bound the townsfolk to the manor and the malevolent entity within. As she examined it, a voice that seemed to come from the very tree itself, whispered in her ear. The voice spoke of a dark pact that had been made by the Harrowbrook family long ago, a pact with a malevolent force that dwelled within the manor. It told of the sacrifices that had been made to appease the entity, sacrifices that had kept the family in power and the town in fear. But the voice also spoke of a prophecy that foretold the arrival of a chosen one who would have the power to break the curse and free the town from the entity's grip. Eliza realized that she had unwittingly become a part of this prophecy, that she was the chosen one spoken of in the ancient texts. With a sinking feeling, she knew that she had to find a way to break free from the curse, to confront the malevolent entity that dwelled within Harrowbrook Manor. Armed with the knowledge she had gained, she ventured deeper into the heart of the woods, following the cryptic clues that had been left behind by those who had tried and failed to break the curse before her. As she delved further into the woods, Eliza could feel the entity's presence closing in around her, its anger and hunger for vengeance growing stronger with each step. But she pressed on, her resolve unwavering. At last, she reached the manor itself, a looming, imposing structure that seemed to radiate with malevolence. The grand halls were filled with a sense of dread, and the very walls seemed to whisper secrets of their own. As Eliza explored the manor, she encountered the restless spirits of the Harrowbrook family, their tormented souls trapped within its walls. They spoke of the curse that had bound them to the manor, of the atrocities they had committed in the name of power and immortality. But they also revealed a way to break the curse, a ritual that would require great sacrifice. Eliza knew that she had to perform the ritual, to confront the malevolent entity and free the town of Willowville from its grip. The ritual took her to the heart of the manor, to a chamber shrouded in darkness. There, she faced the malevolent entity, a grotesque, shadowy figure that seemed to defy description. Its eyes glowed with a malevolent light, and its voice was a chorus of anguished screams. The entity fought back with a fury that was both terrifying and awe-inspiring. It summoned the very shadows of the manor to do its bidding, and Eliza found herself in a battle for her very soul. But she was determined to succeed, to break the curse and free Willowville from the entity's grip. With the strength of the townsfolk and the spirits of the Harrowbrook family behind her, she performed the ritual with a sense of grim determination. The manor shook with the force of the entity's rage, and the very walls seemed to scream in agony. But in the end, the curse was broken, and the malevolent entity was banished from Harrowbrook Manor forever. As the first light of dawn broke over the town of Willowville, the sense of unease that had gripped the townsfolk for generations lifted. The manor itself seemed to breathe a sigh of relief, its grand halls no longer haunted by the malevolent entity. Eliza had fulfilled her destiny as the chosen one, and the town of Willowville was finally free from the curse that had bound it for centuries. The Harrowbrook family's dark legacy was laid to rest, and the town could finally embrace a future free from fear and darkness. But as Eliza stood before the manor, she couldn't help but wonder what other malevolent entities lurked in the shadows, waiting for their chance to return. The world was a vast and mysterious place, filled with ancient secrets and hidden horrors, and she knew that her journey was far from over. Ashcroft House was a sprawling mansion that stood as a monument to a bygone era. Its grandeur and opulence were unrivaled, a testament to the wealth and power of the Ashcroft family. But behind its ornate facade lay a darkness that had haunted the house for generations. The Ashcroft family had long been the subject of rumors and speculation. Whispers of forbidden rituals, mysterious disappearances, and malevolent entities that dwelled within the mansion's walls had plagued the family's name for centuries. It was in the year 1878 that the most infamous of these rumors would come to pass. Amelia Ashcroft, the eldest daughter of the family, vanished without a trace, her disappearance shrouded in mystery and tragedy. As the years passed, the house fell into disrepair, its once magnificent halls now filled with cobwebs and shadows. It became a place of dread, a looming presence that cast a pall over the surrounding town. In 1923, a young journalist named Samuel Thornton arrived in the town of Ashcroft Falls, drawn by the legends and the dark history that surrounded Ashcroft House. He was determined to uncover the truth behind the rumors, to separate fact from fiction, and to finally put an end to the shadow that hung over the town. Samuel's investigation began with the town's elderly residents, those who still remembered the legends of Ashcroft House. They spoke of the family's dark past, of the secrets that had been buried in the mansion's crypt, and of the malevolent entities that were said to roam its halls. With each piece of information he gathered, Samuel grew more determined to uncover the truth. He delved into the town's archives, searching for records and documents that would shed light on the mysteries of Ashcroft House. It was during this research that he stumbled upon the diary of Amelia Ashcroft, the young woman who had vanished in 1878. Her diary spoke of forbidden rituals and a malevolent entity that dwelled within the mansion. It detailed her growing sense of dread and her belief that she was being watched. As Samuel read Amelia's diary, he could feel a malevolent presence in the room with him, a shadowy figure that seemed to flicker in and out of existence. It whispered terrible secrets in his ear, secrets that filled him with terror and despair. Determined to uncover the truth, Samuel decided to spend the night in Ashcroft House, to confront the malevolent entity that dwelled within its walls. Armed with a lantern and a sense of trepidation, he entered the mansion's grand halls. The air grew icy as he ventured deeper into the house, and the shadows seemed to come alive, shifting and twisting with a malevolent energy. He could hear faint whispers in the darkness, as if the very walls themselves were speaking to him. As he explored the mansion, Samuel encountered the restless spirits of the Ashcroft family, their tormented souls trapped within its walls. They spoke of the rituals that had been performed, of the sacrifices that had been made, and of the malevolent entity that had claimed them. But they also revealed a way to break the curse that had bound them to the mansion, a ritual that would require great sacrifice. Samuel knew that he had to perform the ritual to confront the malevolent entity and free Ashcroft House from its grip. The ritual took him to the heart of the mansion, to a chamber shrouded in darkness. There, he faced the malevolent entity, a grotesque, shadowy figure that seemed to defy description. Its eyes glowed with a malevolent light, and its voice was a chorus of anguished screams. The entity fought back with a fury that was both terrifying and awe-inspiring. It summoned the very shadows of the mansion to do its bidding, and Samuel found himself in a battle for his very soul. But he was determined to succeed, to break the curse and free Ashcroft House from the malevolent entity's grip. With the strength of the restless spirits and the knowledge he had gathered, he performed the ritual with a sense of grim determination. The mansion shook with the force of the entity's rage, and the very walls seemed to scream in agony. But in the end, the curse was broken, and the malevolent entity was banished from Ashcroft House forever. As the first light of dawn broke over Ashcroft Falls, the mansion seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. Its grand halls were no longer haunted by the malevolent entity, and the town could finally embrace a future free from fear and darkness. Samuel Thornton had fulfilled his mission, and the town of Ashcroft Falls was finally free from the shadow that had hung over it for generations. The Ashcroft family's dark legacy was laid to rest, and the mansion that had once been a place of dread was now a symbol of hope and redemption. But as Samuel stood before Ashcroft House, he couldn't help but wonder what other malevolent entities lurked in the shadows, waiting for their chance to return. The world was a vast and mysterious place, filled with ancient secrets and hidden horrors, and he knew that his journey was far from over.